kin.
Ah, the Dark Kin indeed. Hello everyone and welcome to another SkaredCast live video here on YouTube and on Patreon. This is Meta Monday Analysis. It's a weekly show that I normally do for all the Patreon supporters over on Patreon. The Desert community is why I get to do what I do. They get cool perks like extra videos every week. But it is the start of a new ITC season. It is the LVO just happened this weekend, and I'm opening up the vaults of the patron to do this for everyone. So you can sit back, relax. We're going to talk a little bit about the current state of the meta, what we saw at the LVO, what that might happen in the future, things that matter to us in general. I also use this opportunity every week to answer specific Patreon submitted questions. So we will be doing those as well. Now, because it is live, we'll have questions from the audience, and you'll get to jump on in and do that. And this video should take about 20 minutes. Nothing super long, nothing super crazy. But other than that, hello everybody in chat. Now, huge shout out to the Reddit user Spectre_195, who has compiled all the information that we will be using today. This is from the main GT, and I do not believe it includes the stats from the final 8, or the Shadow Round, which is sort of like its own tournament in and of itself. Essentially, 800 or so players showed up at the LVO to, in a battle of wits, play every mission in the book, essentially, and the top 8 advanced to a single elimination final tournament on the Sunday to crown the LVO, the Las Vegas Open 40k champion, and also to find out who the winner of the 2021-2022 season of the ITC was. Congratulations to Richard Ziegler for winning the whole thing with Adeptus Mechanicus. Congratulations to Stephen Box from Vanguard Tactics for winning Renaissance Man at the LVO, which is a fantastic show of like skill in terms of hobby, sportsmanship. That's great. And a huge shout out to Sean Naden for winning the hobby track for this ITC season. And his Eldar army is gorgeous. Richard Ziegler, of course, one of my fellow coaches from the Art of War, and it's really awesome to see the Art of War crew just crushing it this season. I cannot wait to be able to go to the LVO next year. I wasn't able to be there this year, but now that people are talking about Custodes and Eldar coming up, they just previewed the book today, and a whole bunch of stuff. I'm excited because I feel that I'll get away scot-free for playing my Drukhari without the judging eyes. And I know I'm not going to play 180 racks. Looking at you, Manny. That's not going to happen. Okay, so let's dive in. So first and foremost, a couple of very interesting sort of notes. So in terms of player count, I believe there was about 800 and some players at the event. You know, Custodes were by far the largest player pool from the tournament. With the Golden Boys, 61 players out of the total, right? They had a bunch of wins, and their win percentage for the basic event was 60% win rate. So a good chance that if you took Custodes, you were going to win. Their average VP out of 6 games was 131, which is decent. It's okay. It's not bad. The next highest was the 52, was Tyranids, all the way down here. Now, we saw Tyranids really come to the forefront with this. Oh, that is definitely not a color I want to use for this, because you can't see anything at that point. So Tyranids down here, 52 players out of the pool. With Tyranids, they had a 63% win rate. Now that's mainly due to Crusher Stampede, and Crusher Stampede did go all the way to the top 8. And it is a very, very strong Tyranid build. You know, the ability to take large monsters combined with the supplement stratagems from the Leviathan supplement has made it like a conjunction of tough creatures, invulnerable saves, damage reduction, and the ability to play the primary, at least in the current GT mission pack, which is the GT 2021 mission pack. With the new Nakmund data mission pack, who knows what's going to happen? I'm very curious to see how a lot of these statistics change as the new essentially missions take a hold in the tournament season, just because it's going to have such an impact in the game, in my opinion. The next highest were, I believe, Drukhari. Yeah, there you go. So Drukhari, tried and true, of course. You know, it is awesome to see them going around taking names. It was 54 players, and they were at 62%. That's a healthy rate. I still think they're the strongest list in the meta. They didn't make it to the finals. However, they were in the contention the entire way. They were 2 Drukhari lists in the top 8. And that 62% win rate is one that has been consistent for months. Everything else around them has changed, and the book itself has so much adaptability and inner sort of like synergy that the win rate has just stayed consistent. It is the most winningest faction in all of Warhammer 40,000 in the recent future, the recent history, and it's rivaling the Castellan Catachan build from 8th edition that had a very long running, and also the Iron Hands that had long running as well back in the day. Okay, so then we have the next, which was Orcs, just by one player. Orcs had a pretty decent showing. They almost made it into the top 8 with a 54% win rate. The Orc player lost in the Shadow round, so sadly they did not make it to the finals. But as you can see, pretty healthy showing from the Orcs. Now, of course, those were some of like the bigger names. Some honorable mentions. Grey Knights. They did make it to the top 8, but weren't able to get past the Custodes. And I think that was mainly due in part that Grey Knights really struggle against like the Custodes, like the tough, armored, invulnerable save. And then, of course, if you are running against the Emperor's Host, they have the mortal wound protection, that sort of thing. But it's a healthy, 52% win rate, right? So other than that, that's not terrible. Now let's talk about the other factions that made it, aka Alex McDougall, who made it all the way to the semifinals with Forces of the Hive Mind. Now this is the mix of Genius of the Cult and Tyranids. The reason I'm bringing that up is because there were only 10 players out of like 800 that decided to run a mix, and they still had a 62% win rate, and one of them went all the way to the semifinals. I do feel like Forces of the Hive Mind is probably stronger than just straight up Monster Mash Tyranids. And if I were to do a tier system, I'd probably just rate them higher because of the versatility of having the Genius of the Cult included in with the big bugs. And I think it's incredible. It's nice to see, but there were very few people that decided to go for a mix when it came push to shove at the main tournament, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that. And last but not least, I wanted to kind of draw attention to Cult Mechanicus, which, of course, Mr. Richard Siegler won with just a straight-up Mars Cult Mechanicus list that was a veteran cohort. He played it very well. Great sportsmanship seen from him and from his opponents as he piloted it to the end. There were 33 players, so there were a decent amount of players that went to LVO with that, but only a 45% win rate. Now, of course, that just shows that even with a lower winning percentage army, if you have like good skills, you understand how to play the missions, and you build a versatile list, you're really able to squeeze the most out of an army and pilot it to win an 800-person major playing 9 rounds. As long as you're patient and you play the missions and you get a little bit of luck on your side when you kind of need it and stuff like that. It is so it was really cool to see, and I really liked it. In terms of other best winning percentages for the tournament, Genius of the Cult, just straight up Genius of the Cult, did have a 57% win rate, which is a winning win rate, which is great. Just mixed Imperium, like a hodgepodge of probably Knights and other stuff, also a winning win rate. Renegade Knights with a winning percentage as well. And Other than that, is what else do we have that has a winning brilliant? That's it. So, oh no, and chaos. Just straight up mixed chaos. Like a mix of different things. So, cool to see. Out of all that, like you look at the versatility, there's some factions that do need some work. We're going to have the new books come in. Tau gets released this weekend. I'm so curious to see exactly how it goes. Very, very pumped to see all that. Okay, now we're going to dive into some of the Patreon questions. And I just want to say thank you very much to everybody who posted a question on Patreon. But everybody in chat and everybody watching, what was the thing that surprised you the most out of the LVO? Is there anything that you thought would make a difference? To me, it was, or I had predicted, and you can go back and listen to the chapter tactics or wherever it is you listen to me. I predicted that Custodies would have the largest short-term impact on the meta, and I feel that I was right. And I felt like Genes to the Occult is probably the better codex or the better book. I still stand by that. However, you need someone very skilled to take the most out of that book because it has so much jank and so many different combos that need to be happened. So, in order for it to work appropriately. But hello, Tabletop Chuck. Hello, Frigton. Hello, Artemis. Hello, Nick. Hello, Diablo. Paul Jan. Conman Chronicles. Hey, what's going on, Olaf? Grey Knights in the top 8 was a surprise to me. Nice. Well, like Grey Knights aren't exactly like terrible, but they weren't the easiest to like pilot either, right? And they tend to have a tougher position to Grey Knights as well, which is really interesting. Okay, so into the Meta Monday analysis questions. There are 2 ways that you can submit a question for Meta Monday for me to go over. One of them is posting it on the Patreon page. I post a little thing at the beginning of every week with a schedule and like notes and stuff that's going to happen. And then there's the Patreon Discord, the Denizen community. That's a growing positive community of like-minded gamers. And there's a little thread called Meta Monday where folks can post a question for Meta Monday. Of course, because we're doing this live, if you have a question for me you'd like me to answer, just chuck it in the chat and I'll get to them. If it's super chatted, I'll be able to see it better. And if you don't want me to miss it, that's the best way to do it. If not, I'll just be picking them at random. Brick says, what an LVO. First of all, what are your thoughts about the tournament? I love the LVO as a tournament. I think that it is still a system that is relatively new. I think we've only had the LVO for, 8 years? Something like that? Has it been 8 years? It's been a while. I've personally only been playing sort of like competitively in the competitive scene since 2018. And then 2020 and 2021 were a complete wash. So really only like 2 years, 2018, 2019. And that's all I've done in terms of competitive. I haven't really been able to show what I can do really yet. But I love the event. I can't wait to go to it in 2023. That's my goal right now, at least. Richard Ziegler played so well. What do you think was the reason he performed so well? Excellent player, good list, practice, a little bit of it all. Hey, Josue Arriola, thank you for the super chat. Am I excited for the Eldar Codex? 100%. I'm very excited. I have no idea what's in it, but they just previewed it today. Super pumped. We'll be doing a 40k today on the Art of War YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. Also, in terms of all the information that's right here on this little chart, I will be putting a link in the description, and of course the link is up here if you want to take a look at it. But I'll be putting a link in the description to the post directly, so you can go check it out yourself and all that good stuff. Okay, so back to the question. So Ziegler has a knack for the game, and it's one of the things about being like in any sport. There's certain people that play sports that have like a knack for understanding and decoding what's happening, right? I think it's called game brain or something like that. They call it like you can analyze the game itself, and you're really good at sort of like predicting what's going to happen. And someone like Richard Ziegler has that for Warhammer 40,000. So he can really take pretty much anything he wants. Whether it's Tau, whether it's, and he's just played a lot. Remember, before he started, like, doing well with Tau, he had been playing Tau for years, like, non-stop only Tau. And he'd always been really close, but never truly, like, cracking the code. Now with the Art of War, he's still, like, I believe, teaches, and he's a professor at university. Like, he's a smart guy. He understands, like, board state. He knows what he's doing. And he just really uses the tools well to his advantage. And he's not afraid to murder all his own little units to get the points that he needs to win. He also knows when to be defensive, when to be aggressive, when to do a trade, when to, like, bait their opponent out. And so you saw a masterclass in a lot of that during the final games. When they kind of bounced in and out of his games, you could see, like, the positioning on the table. You could see making charges into things that he's not going to kill, but he didn't do it to kill anything. He did it to get extra movement, to contest objectives, to, get onto positions and stuff. And so you put that all together, it's a very holistic way of playing Warhammer 40,000, which is one of the things that I really believe in. Yes, there's good things and there's bad things within any codex, but as long as you're comfortable with the list you're playing and you have practice with it and you understand how to play the game, how to score points, how to pick secondaries, and you understand your opponent's army and you know their rules as much as they know, like, their own rules, then you're, like, at a level of competitive play that can sort of compete at that level. And I think you combine that together, and it helps that they've got the 40k house for Art of War down in Florida, and they can play any day, all day long, and all that stuff, right? And I think that's very, very conducive to good 40k players to come out of that. But thank you for your question, Brick. DeMark says, I'm curious what your take is on the LVO data. I believe we just went over that. Looks like Iron Hands and Deathwatch are the strongest Space Marines, and Chaos did okay. Well, let's take a quick look at the Deathwatch. So, so the Deathwatch themselves, and this is mainly, I believe, most people playing Deathwatch. So 13 people playing Deathwatch. They played almost, so this is a 49% win rate, but a lot of them are playing the Deathwatch kill team, right? And that Deathwatch kill team has some really cool, janky rules that if you're not used to playing them or don't know what they can do, will wreck you. Like, wreck you. And they even FAQ'd it to tone it down. Because there's this one thing where they can drop down with flamers and, like, hit you with flamers and auto-wound you, but LVO ruled it that there was no hit roll, so you can't auto-wound, which I don't think is the way it should work. But they toned it down even for the LVO, which I thought was really funny. And then Iron Hands, which is down here, also had a 49% win rate. So they were just on the cusp, right? There were also 13 players. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. I don't know. However, there were more Iron Hand games than Deathwatch, so one guy decided not to play his last game. Tisk, tisk. And Iron Hands, on average, were getting more points per game than the Deathwatch. Well, I could see that happening, because they've got lots of shooting and stuff. So over here, you can see that the average over 6 games for the Iron Hands was 400 points, and the average for 6 games, then again, there's one game missing, but the average was 395 points, which I find that's pretty cool. When you start looking at the stats, you can always kind of see trends appearing, and that always makes it very, very interesting as well. JW says, hello Skari, maybe a bit of a premature question, but how do you suspect Tau will shake up the meta if you look at the top armies? I will tell you next week, next Monday, when Tau have been to a few tournaments. Custodian's good because of the characters, Dreadnoughts, Bikes, or Troops, all of the above as well. But that makes sense. It's interesting the Space Marines just don't have enough teeth to hang in ninth. It's really interesting to me considering Joey pushes them so much. They have teeth, it's just people tend to see the big shiny thing and gravitate towards that. A player who plays Space Marines and dedicates themselves to Space Marines will win with Space Marines, no matter what the meta is. Because there's tools Space Marines have that do really well. So, maybe still somewhat valid, but not as much as 2021 were to continue. Yeah, we'll see what happens. The data... Is this data even valid with the new 2022 mission, says Sean? That's a good question. Troops and OBSEC way more prevalent. We'll see. To be honest, like, this was the end. This is kind of like what 9th edition looks right now. The new mission format is going to change things, and I cannot wait to see how it changes it. But let me know what you think with a comment. How do you think the new missions are going to change this data? What armies, like the Tau Codex, the Eldar Codex, are going to really shake up the way that we play the game? What are you most afraid of? I'm afraid of the Tau SMS smart missile systems. I hate those things. Or like flamers. Tau flamers are terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Sludge says, competitive 40k has always been spammy, period. Well, that's because you can spam. Get it? Can spam? Because it goes together. Anyway, Ian says, good morning, keep up the awesome work, gotta go to work soon, but super keen to watch this later. No problem. Well, I do have to head on out because I have another video to do, but I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. A huge shout out to all the channel Patreons, without whom none of this would be possible. If you'd like to support the Patreon, make sure you check the links down below, leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. After all, I've been Skari, your grateful host, signing off until next time. Skari out. Ah, the Dark Kin. 2022 is my year, baby. Bye.